You know, I could have realistically made 3 Vancouver Canucks videos today. There's just a lot of stuff going on. We could have talked about the game that happened between the Canucks and the Winnipeg Jets. We could have discussed all the comments made by Petey, Hughes, Benning, the agents. That was all released today because the Vancouver Canucks used Sunday as their, we signed Petey and Hughes. Let's actually make the announcement day. So we had all the comments made available right now. And then we also had, in the middle of the third period, the Vancouver Canucks make a whole bunch of cuts to their actual roster. And as a result, those are 3 separate and very different topics surrounding the same team. I could have gone out there and made videos on all of them, but you know what? Because I'm kind of lazy and because it's kind of a chill Sunday, you know? I just wanted to go out there, put it all into one. Let's talk about the Vancouver Canucks and the Winnipeg Jets because that just concluded. Vancouver takes things 3-2. It is ultimately Mikey DiPietro who gets the win on the score sheet because, if you're not aware, NHL games are awarded to the goaltender who is on the ice for the game-winning goal. Doesn't matter if you're in a 1-0 game, you have the lead, it's the last minute of the game, and you get pulled. If the other goalie comes in, he gives up a goal, and then you guys win it by scoring another one in the final minute. You're not given the win, the opposite goalie is. So either way, Mikey DiPietro was on the ice for the game-winning goal, which was Tanner Pearson's 3-2 marker, and Yaroslav Halak manned the crease for the first 40 minutes. He looked pretty good, honestly, Yaro Halak did. To be fair, though, he didn't really have too much traffic, too much damage, and too much danger out in front. The few goals that were scored were just kind of bombs that were thrown towards the goal there. But the Vancouver Canucks went out there in their very first Rogers Arena game in front of a significant chunk of fans. And how fitting was it to see John and John back in the broadcast, Satir Shah, Ian McIntyre, and Dan Murphy all doing their thing at Section 400, to hear Al Murdoch announce the Vancouver Canucks names after they score goals and have the fans reply, "Woo!" after the names are announced. And then you had Bo Horvat scoring the first Vancouver Canucks goal in front of the hometown crowd in, almost 2 years? Yeah, that's kind of freaky, isn't it? Either way, though, we have ourselves what is a 3-2 win. The Canucks played pretty well, honestly, and it's to be expected. They iced themselves a pretty good lineup over here, especially from the forwards. We saw guys like Pearson, Höglander, and Horvat, the horsepower line, let's just say, because 2 H's and a P. They went out there and absolutely controlled every shift they had in the offensive zone. The power play early on especially looked fantastic. JT Miller was out here doing his thing. We didn't have Petey and Hughes, but we'll get to Petey and Hughes a little bit later in the video. We did talk about goaltending already. DiPietro was solid, Halak was solid, I liked them both. And then we also had ourselves a defensive situation as well, because we had a good amount of guys, from Hunt to Tucker Poolman to Rathbone to a whole bunch of other guys doing their thing and playing their games. Brad Hunt was displaying some pretty solid flexibility throughout the lineup. Tucker Poolman made a few plays that I honestly was kind of a fan of. And then you had Jack Rathbone, who didn't really have his best game out there. There were a few hiccups in the defensive zone, especially giving it to Christian Vesalainen for a one-on-one breakaway that was stopped by Halak. Probably a few hiccups over there that you don't want to see translate into the real-time game, but it does not take away from the other impacts that Jack Rathbone was able to contribute in the offensive zone and the power play and all that too. Petan gets himself a goal as well. You saw yourselves a pretty nice passing play between him, JT Miller, and Matty Bowie to get the 2-1 lead for Vancouver, and ultimately, I liked Petan a lot more in this game than I had in the previous games. He really showcased his offensive capabilities and his knack for just moving around the offensive zone trying to find guys. Was he perfect? No, there were a few moments, for example, one in the corner of the offensive zone where he tried to fake a pass to the point, but it ended up just costing him because a fake pass kind of forced him to lose his balance and eventually he lost the puck that way. Wasn't perfect by any means, but of course it is the preseason, so do we really care? I don't really know. Either way, though, the 2 guys that were missing from tonight's game were indeed Vancouver Canucks stars, Elias Pettersson and Quinn Hughes. They returned to Vancouver today, and they spoke to the media. The full interview is available on their Twitter account, but the quotes that were indeed shared, this is easier for me to screenshot and put it on the screen over here. Hughes said, "I think this is the best roster we've had in the 3 years I have been here. I think we have a really good team, and I wanted to be here." Petey said, "I'm in good shape, I'm ready to get back with the team and be around the team again. I'm just happy to be back. We didn't realize how much the fans make a difference, and we're so happy to have them back this year," both of them also said. Pettersson also highlighted in the interview that he and Quinn both felt kind of frustrated, kind of upset that training camp went down and they weren't there to participate. It felt kind of guilty for them to be in Michigan while the rest of the team was in Vancouver doing their thing, and when that was ultimately the case, Pettersson highlighted how they just kind of wanted to get the contracts done, like ASAP. No more dragging it out. We want to go back to Vancouver. It's cool being with Brady in Michigan, but come on. We need to be with our hockey team. These are our guys. We can't just be sticking around here by ourselves. And so, ultimately, I think it kind of somewhat confirms the hypothesis that I had, where it was like, yeah, the agents are doing their thing, Benning and Co., they're doing their thing, Petey and Hughes are just kind of letting the agents do the talking, but once it got to the point where either the agents or the players were like, okay, screw that, I just want to go back. Like, give me however much they're able to give me, I just want to go, and we'll get things done from there. It appears that that might have been the case. Here are the comments made by agents J.P. Barry and Pat Brisson. This is from Rick Dhaliwal earlier today on Twitter. J.P. Barry said it was a lengthy process and both sides tried to make several different terms work. With the cap room available, this is what made sense for everyone in the end. Quinn and Elias worked very hard on and off the ice in Michigan to make sure they are ready to rejoin the team. Pat Brisson says here, it sure has been an interesting process trying to get things to conclusion, but we do understand the complexities of getting these deals done at times. We are extremely happy with the end results for Quinn and Elias. He also says it happened pretty quick, because it seems that, as always, there are more conversations or meaningful conversations during camp. I never want to sell the importance of finalizing the deal. We were ready to get it done at all times during the summertime, but Vancouver had to take care of other things first, moving money and all that, so OEL, the trade, and then Eriksson, Beagle, Roussel, all the money going out, the buyouts of Holtby and Virtanen, and then trading away Nate Schmidt too. He also spoke about the worries of Elias Pettersson only signing for 3 years. At any time a player signs short-term, he always has more options to explore at one point, obviously depending on the player's play. Finally, let's go over the Jim Benning quote that was published on the Vancouver Canucks Twitter page. It also is available, the full interview, by the way, on their Twitter account. It is 10 minutes long, but the quote that kind of summarizes everything: we were able to make our team better, more competitive, and still get these guys signed. And honestly, when you frame it like that, because I know a lot of people are going to go out there and say, okay, well, this offseason was whatever, you acquired OEL, it's a bad contract, yada, yada, yada. The team on paper is better than it was last year. And they still got Petey and Hughes re-signed. And they're still going out there winning games and doing all this cool stuff in the games without Petey and Hughes. So it's getting me a little bit more excited as to seeing where we're going to go with this team in 2021-2022. I kind of do agree with Quinn's sentiment that this team is the best team that we have had. It is kind of debatable because Tyler Toffoli, Chris Tanev, Jacob Markstrom back in 2020 was a pretty good team when they were at their best. It's just, we will have to wait and see what happens with the rest of this lineup. Finally, the Vancouver Canucks reduced their preseason roster in the middle of the third period. Take a look at this. It's an article talking about who has been sent over to Abbotsford. Almost everybody has been sent over to Abbotsford. Take a look at this. The following players have been released from their PTOs and will be joining the Abbotsford Canucks. First up, we have Jared Lukosavicius, Vincent Arsenault, and Ashton Sautner, so they're going to be going over to the AHL. Here are the amateur tryout contracts who will be going to the Abbotsford Canucks too. Here is Tristan Nielsen, Ethan Keppen, Chase Waters, and Alex Canuck-Liepert. So there are the 4 amateur tryout contract guys. Next up, it is loaned players to the Abby Canucks: Karo Plaszak, Artur Silovs, and Jet Wu. I'm going to be honest, I don't really know the difference between getting a player loaned to the Abby Canucks, an amateur tryout guy going to the Canucks, and then a professional tryout guy going to Abbotsford. It's just all going to Abbotsford, isn't it? Somebody want to go out there, somebody smarter than me that is, go out there in the comments and actually differentiate what makes these situations separate, because I get it, the players are on the team via different circumstances, amateur tryouts, professional tryouts, and all that stuff, but what exactly is the difference? They're all going to Abbotsford at the end of the day, isn't it? We also had ourselves the following players who have been designated for assignment to the Abbotsford Canucks, so there's another one right there: John Stevens, Devontae Stevens, Sheldon Rempal, and Spencer Martin. And then we have the final players who have been assigned to their junior teams: Victor Persson to Kamloops in the WHL and Connor Lockhart over to the Erie Otters. That was a lot. The Vancouver Canucks have cut a whole bunch of guys, but it is interesting to note, Danila Klimovich, he's still up. Talk to me in the comments, what do you think about the Canucks game against the Jets, Petey and Hughes, the comments by the agent, and we have ourselves the cuts made to the other Canucks in the preseason over here. Hope you enjoyed this episode of Rolls 99. And bye.